Our MC is 55 years old this year and he is regretting his life. Just what the hell am I doing at this age instead of retiring like other people? He asks himself. He realizes that his life is a failure. At that moment, some dragons come to fight him. If you are wondering why he said that his life was a failure, let me tell you his side of the story while he fights the dragons. The other players of his generation are being called Sword Saint or Sword God, or with whatever other mighty titles. On the contrary, he is just seen as an old man with a sword, or a swordsman with dementia. If you are thinking that's not enough of a reason to call one's life a failure, there's more to the story. He grew up without a family, in an orphanage. In his childhood, he witnessed the death of his orphanage teacher and the other kids who were family to him in front of his very eyes. When the collapse appeared in the world's skies, monsters rained down and took everything away from him. However, he didn't despair. When he was at death's door, a miracle happened, and he was saved by an entity. From that moment onwards, he wanted to become like that figure, and he really gave it his all. He extremely struggled, but no matter how many monsters he had slain, he didn't get strong. He again couldn't protect anything and shouted in anger. But that's all there is to it. Presently, he has slain all the dragons, but this old body of his is really giving up on him. To make it worse, another huge dragon appears. By this time of the story, you should understand why he called his life a failure. A dream? None. A home? None. A family? None. His life was nothing but full of misfortunes. His life is such a failure that he couldn't stop regretting it. At that moment, seeing the dragon's breath, he realizes that his life is going to end and he just wants to regress, but he thinks that maybe he will try killing it. Some moments later, he kills the dragon, which was the boss of the ancient dragon's nest, and clears the dungeon. "Geez, why am I working so hard when I'm almost 60? He shouts out of frustration. Our MC's name is Shin Sang-yun, who is currently 55 years old. It's been 30 years since he started living as a swordsman, but his best achievement is just that he was in his country's top 100. It basically means he is just a needle in a haystack, because there are so many players in the world. After clearing the dungeon, a skill book appears in front of him as a reward. He wonders whether he can eat this too, since he has eaten artifacts before. At that moment, Constellation Late Bloomer model student arrives. Since he is an otherworldly, his language is different from the human world, so the system translates it to human language. It informs that Late Bloomer model student sincerely blesses Shin Sang-yun for his hard work. Additionally, he compliments Shin for his impeccable final strike. Shin Sang-yun introduces that the person who entered so dramatically is his contracted constellation, Late Bloomer model student. He says that he is grateful to the constellation for contracting with him when he is a mere third-rate swordsman. But there's a catch to it. The Late Bloomer's abilities are of no use to Shin. Since his abilities only works once the player reaches level 850, all artifact and title stats will be doubled, and once the player reaches level 900, said stats will be tripled. Currently, Shin Sang-yun's level is 650, and because of the insane conditions, he has yet to benefit from having him as his constellation. Meanwhile, the model student urges Shin to use the skill book. Shin Sang-yun laughs as he says that he was just about to do that and starts absorbing it. Devour artifacts. It's the only skill that he acquired when he awakened. In order to understand his skill, he tried to boil and eat artifacts. He also tried frying them, but he didn't feel anything different. By the time he ended his useless experiments, 30 years had passed. When he uses mana synchronization with an artifact of a suitable rank, he realized that it activates his Devour artifact's skill. However, he realized this too late. Others grow stronger as soon as they awaken. But that was not the case for him. By the time he devours the skill book, he throws it away, since it doesn't have any good information about the skill which is to be used. Late bloomer model student says that there is very limited information about that skill available and apologizes for not being able to help. He says that since there is a lot of time, however, Shin should compromise once more and start mana synchronization again. A lot of time, you say? Who said I have a lot of time left? He asks while crying and again shouts, saying that he is almost 60. He blabbers that if he had a child at his 30, then that child would be turning 30, and if he had a child earlier than that, then he might have had grandchildren by now. After hearing this, the late bloomer apologizes for saying something that he shouldn't have. Shin Sang-yun tells the constellation that he hasn't done anything wrong. Shin states that it's just that his life is full of regrets. He explains that he couldn't forget that person's back, who saved him that day. He tried his best to become like that person, but now he is exhausted. He is old, too, now. He wishes that what if only he was a little younger. Anyway, he says that he is going to retire, so tells the constellation to take note that, since he is going to be canceling his contract with him, the late bloomer should go to another player. At that moment, something unexpected happened. The scene you're witnessing right now was Shin Sang-yun's last memory as a 55-year-old. Late bloomer model student utilizes the essence our MC has experimented with, and with this, our MC's regression has begun. Presently, reporter Park Jong-min is having a conversation with the corporation's CEO Han Hyun-jong, and Shin Sang-yun is watching this from his television. In fact, the old regressed Shin Sang-yun, he realizes that he really has regressed. He has got a grasp on the situation, but 4 days have already passed. To be precise, he has gone back by 30 years. After that, he lost consciousness, and when he woke up, he was in his studio apartment from 30 years ago. He wasn't in his 55-year-old body, but in his 25-year-old body, along with all his memories before he regressed. No matter how much he thinks about it, the reason he regressed must be because of the constellation's miracle. There's no other explanation. He's still very confused. Then he decides to work out. In his hands, he has Venomoth's dagger, which is a bronze artifact. One-handed weapon, it is a self-defense dagger. It does not become blunt easily. This is the bronze tier dagger. He was lucky to acquire during this time period. Its rank may be low, but he knows its hidden skill. Even though its absorption rate is low because I haven't used it for long, what's important is its hidden skill. Then, he starts mana synchronization with Venomoth's dagger, thus entering the gap of unconsciousness. The gap of unconsciousness is the space he needs to bypass in order to eat an artifact. He says that he is always nervous every time he comes in here because he doesn't know what dish is going to come out. A message pops up, informing that preparations to absorb Venomoth's dagger is complete. Then a rotisserie BBQ chicken drizzled with olive oil appears as a dish which relieves Shin Sang-yun. He is glad that it's a normal dish. He was worried something like a humid swamp centipede dish was going to come out. He starts to absorb the Venomoth's daggers. He has permanently acquired the stat, which increases his agility by 2 and hidden skill. Demon Bash has been acquired. Lastly, Venomoth's dagger, which has been completely absorbed, will now disappear forever, and Shin Sang-yun returns to his consciousness. He says that it's a shame, that the dagger got destroyed, but he obtained a skill just like he planned. After some time, at the dungeon number 85, we see the team Yoon Dek-young. The portal group leader calls for the team leader whose name is Yoon Dek-young. The team leader asks the portal leader what brings him here. The portal leader informs that one of his team members pulled out. He's a newcomer that joined 4 days ago, and his name is Shin Sang-hyun. The team leader, Yoon Dek-young, tells the portal leader not to worry about Mr. Shin Sang-yun because it has been decided that he will join the player team. The portal leader gets shocked and asks, why is a newcomer joining the player team? Yoon Dae-kyung replies that he gave the final approval and asks whether there is a problem. The portal leader shouts, saying, "Of course it is a problem. It hasn't been long since that newcomer has awakened, and he hasn't finished the player academy yet. Adding a guy like him to the player team has never been done before. Moreover, if it really happens, then the teams will be unbalanced." After hearing this, the team walks near the portal leader. "Portal leader, don't I take care of everything? Like my party and the contribution system distribution?" he asks, as if he is ready to kill anyone who stands in his way. After seeing this, the portal leader apologizes and backs off. Another subordinate of Yoon also asks the same question. The team leader replies that he accepted that newbie's request, thinking that if someone's going to die, it would be him, not them. Furthermore, he says that the newcomer needs to act up and die. So those porters shut up, and that way, they can maintain their value. As they are talking, Shin Sang-yoon arrives, saying hello. He says that starting today, he will be working as a player and introduces himself. He notices that everyone's very expressive, although he expected that much. He never thought that would not even hide their expressions. The team leader smiles, laughs, and happily pretends to accept the newbie. He asks whether Shin's weapon is a longsword. Shin Sang-yoon replies, saying yes, he also includes that he studied a lot of videos on YouTube. Yoon Dae-kyung says that a longsword is one of the hardest types of swords to wield. Shin replies that he will at least try to protect himself and tells the leader to keep trust in him. The team leader puts his hand on Shin's shoulders as he laughs, saying that all men must have this fighting spirit like Shin. Finally, the team leader declares to start the dungeon raid. The team leader tells his team to enter, and once they enter, they should stay on standby at the entrance. As Shin is entering, Yoon looks at Shin with disgraceful eyes, thinking that studying on YouTube about raids is a ridiculous thinking. He thinks that Shin Sang-yoon is so arrogant just because he awakened and became a player, and it looks like he has a death wish. Well, according to the raid strategy that the team leader procured, this orc dungeon is like the Wailing Wall for newbies, so according to him, this newbie will know his place very soon. He smirks, thinking Shin is an idiot. But later, something unexpected happens which changes his countenance. Now he thinks that he is the stupid one. The scene in front of him totally astonishes him. Who the hell is he? What did I just witness? He is wondering, and amidst all of these, a single word comes to his mind. A monster.